Thank you, listeners and our people, our citizens of our beautiful country, Papua New Guinea. Good morning. It's a special year for us. It's the 50th independence anniversary, a very important time of our nation building. My name is Paul Nerau. I'm from Bougainville, South Bougainville. This year I happily celebrated my 72 years in this wonderful country, Papua New Guinea. My early schooling was back in the mission schools in Bougainville, in Bougainville. My particular mission, Bougainville Catholic Mission, started my schooling in 60s. From 61 to 64, I did my early primary school, and then I won a space to go to the Marist Brothers School in Kieda, Central Bougainville, and did my grade 5 to grade 10, 65 to 70. 70, then I won a scholarship to the University of Papua New Guinea to do my preliminary year in 1971. Continued until did my final year in 1975, graduating with a Bachelor of Laws degree in 1976, of which 76. At the university, I was under the scholarship of Bougainville Copper Limited with a whole lot of Papua New Guineans. So at that time, Bougainville Copper was the only mining operation. In fact, from historical documents in Canberra, Bougainville mine was basically supposed to be opened so that it will finance Papua New Guinea's independence. Pre-independence, before 75, the mining operation started around 66 for explorations, and then constructions followed. 69 to 70, the first commercial concentrates were exported to the world markets. I had the opportunity to work during school vacations at the mine, 68, 69. My first encounter with BCL while I was a student at Marist Brothers School in Kieda. It was incredible operations. While we see all the whole of Bougainville was now flooded with people from all over the world who were building the mine. And of course, as students now being sponsored by the mine, we would go on Christmas vacations and work with the mine. Many other Papua New Guineans were also sponsored. The only major sponsorship by the mine. 71, 72, 73 at the university. 74, I actually decided to get myself settled and got married. My beautiful wife. My wife at the time actually worked for the then Minister of Minerals and Energy, Sir Paul Lappin, in 1972, 73. And then 74, we got married, and I was a married student. Had my first daughter, born in 75. In fact, she celebrates 50 years this year with Papua New Guinea's independence anniversary. So after graduation, of course, BCL didn't want to give me merit accommodation, so I resigned and joined Bougainville Development Corporation in 1976. They sponsored me to do my articles, Legal Training Institute here in Port Moresby for 10 months. Then I returned back to Bougainville in 77. Bougainville Development Corporation, BDC, sent me to Sydney as a first staff member to be sponsored to do attachment with Stephen Jackson Stevens in Sydney in 1977. In fact, it became the first Papua New Guinean to work with a major law firm in Sydney in 1977. So worked there for 12 months and returned back to Bougainville. In 78, when I returned, I was made the legal advisor and company secretary of BDC. And then 79, I was appointed the joint managing director. I was only 27 years old. And Bougainville at that time was the biggest population of expats. Would have been about 3,000 to 4,000 expats on Bougainville. Highest number, except for probably the only major number of expats were Port Moresby. So once I was announced as the managing director, a lot of people didn't believe that I would manage because obviously a young man at 27, being given a major company, really a multi-million company. But I was confident after spending 12 months in Sydney and learning all the ropes. I think it taught me very early about following processes, legal process, ensuring the compliance of companies, and that helped me to be able to now plan my future role with BDC. I think BDC at the time was the only business arm of any provincial government that had been involved with the mine. We set out to basically take part in the, I guess now they call those national content or local content. We were the major driving force to be involved with the mine. And we quietly worked. Our strategy was to localize any of those major contracts that were being given to foreign companies. We followed due process. We did business as the only international benchmarking through our compliances, and hence we won respect with the management of the Bougainville copper mine. So they allowed us and helped us by way of giving us the opportunity to grow the business. So in 79, we had about 5 subsidiary companies. When I became MD, I said managing director. By the time crisis came, we had 20 companies, servicing BCL mine and other companies outside of the mine on Bougainville, and also the few companies which came to be involved here in Port Moresby. We, at the time in Bougainville, we were involved especially in our staff development, a lot of training, sponsorship to the university center, scholarships offered to all our Bougainville students, to universities, colleges, and also of high school students. We sponsored a whole lot of high school students every year. So we did a lot of local support for education because the board felt that education was critical for Bougainville. We continued all our activities, and the main activity, one of the most important one, was the lime plant, the limestone mine. We built that and became the first Bougainvillean or Papua New Guinea company that started supplying hydrate lime to BCL mine. We were supplying 100 tons per day to the mine from the limestone mine at the Manitai in Bougainville. We also supplied some of the hydrate lime to the NCDC water treatment at Mariama from Bougainville. Also farm setting the highlands for the soil pH improvements. So it was the first lime plant that we built and successfully operated until the crisis. So I guess when the crisis came, I was threatened because of my role. I basically was accused of being a collaborator with national government, employing non-Bougainvilleans, and paying tax to national government. Because of that, I lost all my assets, properties, even my house in the village got burned because of these allegations. So I left Bougainville '89. Came to try and get some things happening in Port Moresby, unfortunately, because all our assets, about 90% of our assets and cash flows were from Bougainville, so we lost out. Anything that was left, basically the bank, following our mortgages, they came and took over. Then, of course, while here, then I started helping the government. I was first secretary to Maskati Angalio, the Minister for Mining and Petroleum in 94-95. And then also Sir Peter Lewis, 95-96. We had a delegation to US where we went and negotiated the South Sea cannery in Wewak. And after our negotiation and the MOU signed, we came back. Hence, the project now is delivering, now working and employing close to 300, especially women, in the loining plant in Isipik. Then I had a small stint at the university as a business manager for the University of Papua New Guinea for about 15 months. Then when I was appointed as a Consul General to go to Brisbane to run the Consulate in Brisbane, and of course that was in 2004. Sent to Brisbane there, worked, supposed to be a 3-year term, but got extended to 9 years, 2004 to 2012. And then the government then invited me back to chair the IPPC, and became the chairman of IPPC. In my time from 2012 to 2014, I also was employed as a country manager for Sun Engineering based in Brisbane. So I was same time chairman of the Kumul Consulate Holdings after we created the Kumul structure. I was the chairman when we created the Kumul structure, setting up Kumul Mining, Kumul Petroleum, and KCH. So then I exited from the IPPC to KCH from 2014 and 2018. And in 2018, we had an issue on the Manamano land saga, and I resigned. I walked out of the office as chairman. And then 2019, I went back to Bougainville, trying to help my people in Bougainville to. I stood for the election as for the presidential seat, which I was not able to be elected, so I came back to Port Moresby, and then I got appointed to the Kumul Petroleum board, where I still now serve today. So my passion to serve my country now for over 50 years, it's based on the fact that I was in the first batch of pioneers who came out to fly the flag. We flew the flag feeling proud of the fact that we can call ourselves a sovereign nation. We can do our own things within our own strengths and weaknesses, whatever. We did well. I must say confidently that at independence we were able to take this country forward and did all the things well. Kina was, at that time, as we all know, was stronger than the US dollars. Quite a lot of experience for me. We're traveling to overseas for business were wonderful days, because when I exchanged Kina, and I have a story which I tell all my friends, I was changing 2,000 Kina at the Brisbane International Airport, and they gave me 4,500 Australian dollars. And the ladies at the exchange said, where is this currency from? And I told them, that's from Papua New Guinea. It's a Papua New Guinea currency. And they could not believe. And they said, where is Papua New Guinea? I said, this is just above you. So, for me, these are the experiences. We basically prove to the world we can stand on our own, fly our own flag, and have our own status in the global village. So that's why I'm still passionate today. This country is so unique in the sense that we are a group of tribes that number something like over 850 languages, cultures, you name it. In a way, the biggest in the world. That's our intrinsic core value of this nation. We don't even talk about it. At the independence, we talk about the unity in diversity. That catchphrase, still today, is the best catchphrase for us. We are united into one united country. We are diverse, but our unity is a must. We have to maintain that unity. And I guess through the experience that I have, I want to say to ourselves, we are there because of our unity. We must cherish the unity. We must start working together. I developed, while I was at KCH as the chairman, my kids cry, together we can. And to this day, it's still my catchphrase. If we are not united, we are going to destroy ourselves. United we stand, together we can. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Nerau, looking back on Papua New Guinea's 50 years of independence, what do you see as the most significant achievements of the nation?
Thank you. I think the most important and significant achievement for Papua New Guinea is the fact nobody believed that we will last 50 years. I think the fact we are still a country and growing is a major achievement for us, number one. Number two, having some of the major international companies coming in to operate in this country, especially in the oil and gas area, of which I sit on the board of Kumul Petroleum. And that's a major achievement, and all the other opportunities that we have, that we have been able to maintain this country in terms of our economy. Our cultural diversity is one of the key achievements. We still hold on to our cultures. I think as people, as citizens of our nation, a nation is a nation of people. If we did not have the citizens and the people, we don't have a country. And that's another most important aspect that we celebrate, our people, the 9 or 10 or 12 million people. That's what we celebrate. All of us have our own issues, personal issues, community issues, everything. But the fact we are united today, how we can navigate ourselves for the next 50 years is to strengthen those areas we may have failed or we are not coming together to solve them. And I think this is the next 50 years we need to fix number one, unity, unite the country. We also have achieved one of the major factors in our country is that we are able to still maintain our Christianity. The strength of our country is in the Christianity that we have held on to from day one since 1975. And we must continue to strengthen our Christian values. The values I talk about are things like the moral uprightness in our family units. Our family units, we must maintain very, very important because the family units is the first training ground for our children and the future of our nation. We must also ensure that the values of our communities, our tribes, in terms of living together, ensuring that we must move away from violence. Violence is the worst thing that will destroy us as well. Because through violence, you create disunity. Then we must work together to maintain our cohesion at family level, community level, at country. I want to share a couple of stories about how I see ourselves. I was in Bougainville as a managing director. A minister rang me up, I will not call the name, and said, Paul, I want you to be chairman or MD for this, and remove somebody. I said, why are you wanting to remove this particular person? And this particular minister said, I don't like him. I said, sorry. I don't go looking for jobs where you have dislikes. This is one of our weakest links in this country. We must respect each other as professionals, as leaders, as countrymen. We must work together because this country, a very important part of our country is the fact we are still a very small country in terms of all the resources available to us. But we must work together to achieve and develop those values that I talked about, the intrinsic core values of our nation, the human capacities, training, skilling of our people. Number two, jobs, creating jobs for our people. And on top of that, we must do away with any shortcuts. Shortcuts lead to corruption. Shortcuts leads to animosity. If we do things properly, follow the law, follow the process, then we are on a sure path to excellence, success, and longevity in all our dealings. I think these are the very important part of our next 50 years.
How has Papua New Guinea's corporate and economic landscape evolved over the last 5 decades? And what role do you feel state-owned enterprises have played?
Yes, thank you. I actually was chairman of KCH, and I tried to instill while I was there to try and have all our SOEs work together, so that we are able to help our government through the dividend distribution. And I think we have done some things which are good that has helped us. For instance, in my time as chairman of KCH, we shifted the wharf from waterfront to motor KM. We did the structure of the Kumul structure. I think that we must continue to improve. In other words, to improve so that we actually get value from all our assets while we provide a service to the country. And I think it's really to do with management, training, skilling that needs to happen. I think SOEs have the greatest potential to achieve these things. But at the end of the day, it's to do with properly appointing leaders and business executives who are trained and skilled in those areas. In other words, in the context of merit-based appointment, it's very important.
What lessons can Papua New Guinea learn from past challenges, such as the Bougainville crisis, in terms of managing its resources and development?
I think we have now, at this juncture, we are already now dealing with landowners. The landowners issue is so critical, and I think we have a process in place in our country now, making sure landowners also have a fair share in terms of the exploitation of natural resources. So I think all we need to do is make sure that we keep business on one lane, politics on one lane, and public service in one lane. We must not crisscross the different roles, because then we run into conflict of interest. We run into situations where we actually also delay in actually achieving outcome-based activities. Often say that I think we actually can improve a lot in our outcome-based activities, especially private sector. Private sector is the engine room of any country. And America has proven to us through the reappointment of Trump. I think the American people have decided to bring a businessman in there to deliver the business outcome, even though he had some failings. I think, to me and for us, we need to not compromise our roles. The roles might remain separate. Let the private sector deliver what they are supposed to do. Private sector is there to make money, pay tax, uh, pay dividend to shareholders, and grow the business. Let them do that. We must support that and get them to grow. Through the growth, they will create more jobs, more training, more skilling, and more tax for government. I think these are the things we need to now improve on for the next 50 years.
Mr. Nerau, how has the relationship between politics and business in Papua New Guinea impacted the country's development over the years?
I think in some respects, we are getting there. I think politics is a role, and business is a role, public service is a role. So those roles, we must respect each other and run to achieve maximum returns on our efforts, both in private sector, both in public service, and both in the political arena. But we must keep them separately so that they run their course for maximum output or maximum returns for us as a nation.
Reflecting on your own personal career, what are some key moments that align with the nation's growth and development?
I think it's respecting the role we play. I give you an example. I went to Brisbane to run the consulate. After being there for about 10 months, or sorry, after 30 days, I called my staff together and said, let's see how we can improve our service. And I asked my staff, please tell me what you do here. I'm not from the Waigani pool. I'm not directly from foreign service. I am a businessman being brought in to help develop business connections with Queensland. So the first thing we did was we just refined everything from timing. Time was critical. This is one of our most important, I think we are all aware of our situation in this country is time. We don't respect time. Our time management in this country is very poor. So I had to fix that. I asked them, so what are the things that you do in this office? They said, we give tourist visa, business visa, then work permit. So I said, how long does it take you to give these things? I said, for tourist visa, maybe fortnight. Business visa, maybe a month. And work permit, it comes from headquarters. Okay. And what are the times you operate? So we operate 9:30, we open, 11:30, we close, 12:30, 2:30, we open, and 3 o'clock we close. I said, why do you do that? He said, we've been doing it for the last 15 years. Oh, okay. Then I said, okay, we now going to operate from 9:30 to 3. At lunch, you rotate. We'll employ another lady to help you so that we keep our service going. When I arrived, we were doing $40,000 a month from migration fees. Within 6 months, we were doing over $80,000 a month. And when I started there in 2004, we were remitting 2.5 million kina to the treasury from Brisbane for the whole of the 9 years I was contingent. Nobody does that for many other foreign services. In other words, when I went there, I put the business spin onto the office by tweaking the time management, and rotating time. That's all. In other words, we must try, any of us, public servants, whoever you are, try and put a business spin onto where you are. Very important. Then you see results. You maximize your returns out of it.
Mr. Nerau, looking to the future, in your opinion, what industries or sectors hold the most promise for Papua New Guinea's future economic growth?
Yes, very, very quickly I can tell you tourism is number one. For every tourist that enters a country, and this I learned in 1983 when I was a managing director in Bougainville. I was given a tour of New Zealand by the New Zealand Trade Division. And three things I learned in that trip. The three things that I learned, one was tourism. For every tourist that entered New Zealand, it provided 6 jobs. That's 83, I learned that. So I actually made my commitment that tourism is one that I'm going to drive when I go back to Bougainville. The other one was manufacturing. The other one was plantation forest. In the tourism, I got involved with New Guinea and the board of New Guinea. I was sitting New Guinea board for 9 years, from 85 to 1994. We got the Cairns Arabo flight going. I got the Arabo Island Resort and brought New Guinea as a shareholder as well. In fact, they're still shareholders today. The island is still floating, hasn't sunk yet. The buildings have been taken out. And the next part of the tourism, I realized Bougainville in 83 was 200,000 people. All I needed was to bring in 50,000 tourists a year, and I will have 300,000 jobs. And Bougainville was only 200,000 people. And that was my vision to do that. These are the three ones: manufacturing, tourism, the agriculture, the forestry. In the forest sector, I started building furniture, knockdown furniture, sending them to Sydney and being sold at Marist Brothers and David Jones from Bougainville, using rosewood, Quilla, and Vitex. We did heavy furniture, and we were selling them in Sydney. And those are the things that we need. One, manufacturing, tourism, downstream processing, value adding. These are the things we need to do. We only need to do 4 or 5 things and do them well, and you see the economy will start, pumping its own speed and moving at its own speed and own pace, creating jobs, training, scaling, increasing tax revenue. That's what we need to do.
What reforms or changes do you think are necessary to improve the management of state-owned enterprises?
Oh, thank you. That's my favorite project. In my 4 years, I realized that 11 or 12 SOEs, they have their own chairmen, their own CEOs. So that was 11 CEOs, 11 chairmen. Everybody are doing their own deals. I was about to try to apply the Bougainville platform, the BDC platform, where we had 19 managers, 20 managers, 2,000 employees, one bank account. This short recipe for success is control. Control. Control at the umbrella or the headquarters and allow them to excel in their jobs. But at the end of the day, control the cash. You control your liquidity, you are in charge of your destiny, you are able to deliver what is required of you, your annual profits, your annual tax, your annual dividend to your shareholders, and growing the business. That's what private sector is all about. This is what I was hoping to do at KCH. I could not do it because every chairman, every CEOs are doing their own things. If we fix, for me to fix, I know how to fix it. But unfortunately, it's got to be a real major surgery in there to fix it. I'm ready. If they want me to help them to fix it, I can help them fix it. So they will. Every year, in my time, we had 3 billion turnover every year. 3 billion kina turnover from our SOEs. If we are paying 5% of 3 billion turnover a year, that's 150 million to the government. I did, in my time as chairman, I paid the first 150 million as dividend to government, and I left. I don't know whether they're paying any dividend now, that's up to the government.
How can Papua New Guinea better its workforce for the demands of a rapidly changing global economy?
I think at the moment, our big issue right now is training, skilling, and then job opportunities. And that can only be answered through our private sector. Growing the private sector is the key to solving our training, skilling, and also the tax, increasing the tax revenue for our country. That we must drive now.
Okay, coming to diplomacy, what role do you envision for diplomacy in fostering PNG's international relationships in the next 50 years?
I think I have to publicly announce that James Marape, our Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, has done his share of promoting this nation. He has traveled wide, globally. But we, as civil servants, as SOEs, whatever, we must follow, make sure that we are connected. It's not happening. You know, for example, the APEC that we had here. So where is the connection we've created out of that? This is what I did in Brisbane. When I went there, I created umbrella MOU with Queensland State. Out of that umbrella MOU, we had 9 or 8 MOUs with individual departments. Department of Lands in Queensland and PNG. Ambulance service in Queensland and Papua New Guinea. Fisheries, Queensland and fisheries in Papua New Guinea. I had 8 MOUs signed. When I left, nobody followed those. They're still there. All we need is create more of these connections and follow them through so that we achieve maximum output from all those. Because when our leaders go and meet people, they have opening doors for us. But who's going to follow suit? This is where our public service and our private sector, together, we have to work together to enhance the value of all this major marketing that our Honorable Prime Minister is doing, and all our ministers and whatever, that's happening within our country. That's the way to be globally sensitive to the needs and the aspirations of our country. We cannot expect Prime Minister to do everything. He does the first opening, and let's go. Who's doing it?
What advice would you give to young Papua New Guineans aspiring to enter leadership roles in government, business, or diplomacy?
Number one, I must say I learned this very early when I was a kid growing up. You must do your apprenticeship first. Do your apprenticeship first. Learn from the elders. Learn from the experienced people, so that you will not fall into the same track. That's not happening yet. And I want to encourage our young generation, Papua New Guinea, to start connecting with your parents, your elders, your leaders. Leaders in the sense of the experience. The experience. Our Prime Minister is now launched the mentoring. Take advantage of it. But also be aware. Who is the one you're going to see to mentor you? You must not follow the ones who are going to tell you about shortcuts. There's no shortcut in the world. We have laws, policies, and processes. Follow all those. If you want to do it any other way, you will run into problems.
Mr. Nerau, what values or principles have guided you throughout your career?
Number one, put God first. Everything stands for me. Wisdom is God's gift to us. If you think you're going to get wisdom out and seek His wisdom first. God's wisdom is your best principle. And I must say, I'm fortunate I went to a Marist Brothers School where I was taught about moral uprightness. Having one wife, I just celebrated 50 years with my beautiful wife. We've been married for 50 years. Last May, we celebrate 50 years Golden Jubilee.
Congratulations.
So, God first, every other things come second.
How would you like to be remembered for your contributions to PNG's development?
I basically want to remain as somebody who wants to do the right thing, who is focused on doing the right thing, somebody who will not fight for jobs or positions, respecting fellow Papua New Guineans and mentoring young people, training young people to achieve their maximum in their own capacities and their own futures.
Last question. If you had one message for the people of Papua New Guinea as the country moves into the next 50 years, what would it be?
As I said, put God first, number one, do the right thing, follow the law, the process, and we will be in going forward in the right lane. Put God first, follow the law and the process, and we'll be going and following the right lane.